All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome. We're going to give it a minute or two for everyone to join here and then we'll get started. All right, I think we can go ahead and kick this off. So thank you for joining us and thanks for being here. We're really excited for this webinar we have today. I'm Ashley, I'll be moderating today's event, and I'm really excited to talk about this partnership between Glider.ai and Kognitos for Gen AI skills training to build a future-ready team. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So we're really excited to talk about this. Before I introduce our two guests for today, I want to make sure everyone knows that this session will be recorded. We'll follow up with a link to view the recording on demand. And we will also be accepting questions during the webinar. So please use the Q&A function and we will try to answer them as they come up or answer them at the end as time allows. So I'll go ahead and introduce our two guests today. Thanks for being here, Binny and Satish. Binny, do you want to give a little overview of yourself and your background?
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everybody, for joining in to the session. I'm Binny Gill. Thanks, Satish, for joining us as well. I'm founder and CEO of Kognitos. Started this company 4 years ago with the mission of bringing AI to large enterprises, automating business processes in natural language, allowing them to automate as much as they can and prepare for the future. Prior to this, I was CTO at a company called Nutanix. We grew from a small idea and handful of people to a $10 billion company, again, serving large enterprises with their cloud needs. And my background is from computer science. I've been a tinkerer of computer science all my life and learned many languages. And I'm trying to see if natural language could be the final language I have to learn, in order to program computers. So that's what we are about. And I'm really happy to be here with Satish. He's joining us in helping spread the word, spread the capabilities of AI to the world in a safe way. Thank you.
All right. And Binny, do you want to go ahead and kind of introduce a little bit more about Kognitos and who we are, what we do?
Yeah, so at Kognitos, what we are doing is thinking about a future where whatever can be automated will be automated in the businesses. Think about what AI is bringing to the world. It's almost as if we have a caravan of people who are walking on a path towards wherever they want to go, but they are barefoot. And somebody discovers a horse from the nearby forest, and they're riding it, and a few people are riding these horses. And they say, like, we can move fast, but the whole caravan is still moving slow. And we want to change that. We see that everybody would be a horse rider, and that is AI. So, and only then you will be able to move much faster by making sure nobody is left behind, nobody is walking barefoot. Towards that end, there's a term that the industry had coined hyper automation. This is an older term, 5, 6 years ago. It was about a future where using AI, we will automate everything that can be automated. So the whole system is just moving fast. The challenge has been that you automate using tools like no code, low code, RPA, but after automating a few things, it just slows down because every automation is hungry for maintenance and troubleshooting. That whole life cycle needed to be addressed, and that's what Cognitos is doing. So we have built a hyper automation lifecycle platform where Using AI, you can not just author the automations, but the entire life cycle becomes very fast. That allows you to now look at the entire landscape and automate everything. Now, of course, everybody needs to understand AI for that. And that's why our mission is to not only help people automate, but help people understand AI and spread the word. That's what the platform is.
Wonderful. And I'll kick it over to Satish, who's the CEO of Glider.ai. Would you introduce yourself, Satish, and give a little bit of your background?
Absolutely. Glad to be here. I'm Satish Kumar, CEO and co-founder of Glider.ai. I started Glider in 2020, same around 4 years ago, with a mission to make hiring fair and opportunity accessible. Prior to finding Glider.ai, I founded another company in the space of formative assessment and learning for the K-12 market called Edulastic, that was later acquired by private equity firm. And I come from, in my early career, I joined the company Oracle, building logistics solution. And I use that experience today to draw inspiration for talent supply chain in my current work. I grew up in India, and of course, today I reside in San Francisco Bay Area with my son, wife, and a dog named Cash. It's computer Cash, by the way. And it has been a very fulfilling journey so far.
Amazing. Can you give us a little bit of overview of Glider.ai and what you do, customers you serve?
Absolutely. So Glider.ai is a skill validation platform for both talent acquisition team and talent management team. So I'll use the analogy what Binny just used right now, that we are walking, the whole caravan is walking and they see a horse. Well, these caravan people need to be trained to ride the horse, right? And that is what we provide. To how can we figure out who is trainable on the horse, right? And who can be added to the workforce to accelerate the whole process. So for the talent acquisition team, we cater to the entire recruiting funnel with the screening, skill assessment, and interview solution across technology and non-tech roles. Whereas for talent management and learning and development team, we work with enterprise to manage their competencies, identify a skill gap, certify skill acquisition, and track the progress through practical hands-on tasks. And that is where Kognitos partnership helps here, because we are going to also train people on hands-on tasks.
How are you bringing AI to your customers currently?
Excellent question. So with our human-centric AI, we replace the tedious task in the recruiting and HR process, bringing a skill and automation. But more importantly, we want to keep it more human and strategic. So maybe I can give you a few examples of purpose-built AI in Glider. In the hiring process, we have automated ID verification to avoid impersonation, right? In the remote work, in the hybrid work, there are quite a few fraud happening, so we take care of that. We validate the candidate skills upstream through one-way video response that gets auto-transcribed and auto-evaluate against the rubric, against the criteria that you specify for those questions. We have AI proctoring system for remote assessment to make sure we mitigate the hiring fraud. We use AI to auto create question and help interviewers in the interview process, where through AI guided interview, interviewers can use the right question for the right role to assess the candidate competency. So there are a few examples of purpose-built AI in our solution.
Ashley, I think you're on mute.
Oh,
Thank
And
you.
also, quick thing for the people who are viewing, if you have any questions, please put your questions on the chat and we'll be happy to jump on them immediately. Thank you.
All right, we've got some of the details and benefits of this course that we're kicking off, and I'll let you all take a look at these. But while you're reading through this, Binny and Satish, I'd love for you to provide some context about how the two of you met and why you decided to start this partnership.
Yeah, it was interesting. I know Satish, he's an entrepreneur for a long time, and we were just meeting a couple of entrepreneurs trying to is discuss what we are doing. And and obviously the focus that we have has been different markets. We are helping business process automation. Satish has been helping with talent acquisition and skills up, bringing up skills. But as we were discussing this, suddenly an idea came in that, hey, but actually the problems that we are trying to solve are both related to AI. And wouldn't it be interesting that we can actually go on a mission to help um, the same people? Um, and it seemed like it's a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the customer. It's a win for both the sides. So yeah, it was one of these afternoons of, a couple of months ago where we just thought that, hey, this might work. And the more I've talked to people, the more I've realized that everybody, it's very clear. Every CIO, every person knows that AI is going to change the workplace in a way that will be much faster than previous technological changes. When internet came, of course, it changed the world, but quite slowly over many, many years. AI is coming and is changing at such a fast pace that we need something for the world to be able to understand what is the right way of approaching AI. There are a lot of with great power comes great responsibility as well. AI is getting more and more powerful, so understanding that is paramount. Um, so we've been doing this AI training for our customers, but then what I wanted to figure out is can we increase the scale with the help of Glider and reach a much broader market so that they are ready for AI, whether what technology they use, that isn't that interesting. One of the missions that we have at Cognitos is making sure that the future of the world is safe, leveraging AI in a safe manner. Um, there are a lot of folks who believe in the doomsday situation. What's the probability of doom? And um, I don't believe that there'll be any doomsday scenario. We just need to educate. So that's the main reason. Satish, I'll let you talk about your insights here.
Hey, yeah. So to add to what Binny said, so we know each other from our undergraduate days at IIT Kanpur. So we go a long way back, right? And as you would have noticed that he has unique ability to explain complex technology in a simple ways. That is what I like about Binny. And in our conversations, it just came out so naturally that we both are doing AI. How can we spread the adoption of AI? So this partnership seemed a very natural fit, right? Companies have made so much investment in Gen AI solutions, but without people using it correctly, it will go to waste, right? So to get the intended ROI, companies need to train their employees on Gen AI, and those trainings better be hands-on for meaningful outcome, right? And that is where we join hands together to see how can we uh, bring hands-on training through Kognitos, OpenAI, or any other GenAI platform underneath to be able to train people on prompt engineering to achieve the automation and productivity that they need.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that so many levels to do it together.
Yeah. And what Satish mentioned, and when he talked about what his product is doing, I was saying, yeah, that's precisely what is needed. One is you go into some website and there are courses that you can go through. And a lot of times I just put the video on and go for lunch and come back, right? Or just click, click, click. That's not how you learn how to ride a horse. If you think about it, the only way to learn how to ride a horse is to ride a horse. There is no look at a video or read a book on horse riding, nothing of that sort. So that's what I was struggling. When folks ask me, okay, I have 500 people in my organization, what courses they should go through, what books they need to read on Gen AI, can you recommend something? I'm like, no, all they need to do is to use it to solve a real problem. But then how do I do that? That's a very vague thing to do. And when Satish said Glider had a platform where you can actually do practice-based learning, and there'll be a certificate in the end that people will get a score and how they did. So they know how well they did, how that is precisely what was needed. And that was really exciting. And I said, okay, let's go do that. We'll come up with a simple course and we can keep on adding material to it where there is a task. It could be a business task, right? Say you have to process an invoice that came in. Okay. And now you want to use AI to solve that problem. There are many things to think about: biases, hallucination, prompt engineering or not. All of those things is how people will learn. And they'll learn, they might have questions, come back, and they'll get graded. And that way, the understanding of how to use AI, when to use AI, all that can be easily spread in a more measured manner. That's when I'm talking to CIOs of large companies, they need something like this. So that's what we thought we'll bring to the market.
Thank you. Both of you mentioned how quickly Gen AI is changing how rapidly it's being adopted. We pulled some statistics here to really illustrate that point. So 77% of employees are saying that AI has increased their workload, but 52% of them lack the AI skills they need to do their jobs adequately. 65% of employees can't keep up with productivity demands, but 81% of executives are expecting more out of their teams because of AI. What do you think is really preventing businesses from harnessing the true potential of AI?
Let me take this first. Satish can go ahead. Um, there is a lot of AI that is being used, but more like a shadow AI, right? Just like we used to have shadow IT when AWS was introducing cloud. Everybody was using it, the managers didn't know. That's what's happening right now. The employees are using it. If the company is not saying, hey, don't use it, they're using it. They go to ChatGPT, try out something. The challenge with that is you could be taking personal data and cut pasting that into some public website of your choice. And these days, there's so many ChatGPT is there, Gemini is there, Perplexity is there, and you're getting genuine value from these websites. That's not the problem. Just like shadow IT, there was value, but the business does not know, does not control. So from a business perspective, I was looking at some other report. Only 11% have deployed AI in some reasonable manner in production, and even 11 is still pretty large. Looking at how recent this is, but a large majority, around 80%, want to do it, but they have not been able to control it and do it properly. So I think what needs to happen at this point is uh, all the enterprises need to create some what is being dubbed as AI councils, right? So a center of excellence for AI thinking in the company. And in the AI council, the two parties meet, the business and the IT, both meet together and they contribute their ideas and their requirements, like this is how I want to move. This is somewhat different from previous technological shifts in one very fundamental way, and it's a good way, and I'll explain that. So when something like um, internet comes in, or something like cloud came in, um, or even like database, Oracle database was invented, right? DB2 Oracle. What happened was technology was brought in. It had an operator that had to be different, with a different background and training than the person who used to do it manually before the technology came in. So somebody used to update your general ledger on a piece of paper. Now a database comes in, you need a database admin, right? What in that world, what happens is the workload of the person who was doing it manually is being reduced because somebody else is taking away their work. And that work is being shifted towards IT. So there's a lot of challenges there. First, people think, oh, technology is going to come and take away my job. That used to happen. It's almost like going back to the horse analogy that you use. If I'm a chariot rider in New York or somewhere else, Chicago, and then cars getting invented, Ford is rolling out cars from the factory. I'm looking at a future where I won't have a job because I don't have a license to drive a car. So that is normally how technology changes have happened, but AI is different. The interesting part of AI is it is in a language that the person who does it manually already understands. And these are the people who are actually going and using AI by themselves. They're using it at home, they're using it at work as well. Their workload is not going to reduce because they are now being expected to do more with their time. So just like I talk to my employees and say, okay, if you're a developer, now you need to be developing 2x faster because we have given you all the tools and we have given you all the uh, training of how to use AI, but I want to work faster, right? If somebody is in marketing, you got to be moving faster because AI is helping you generate a lot of content. If you're in sales, you should be able to do more outreach. You should be able to generate a quote using an automation tool much faster than the competition. So every work that you're doing, you are expected to learn this new skill and go faster, increase productivity. And that's what's happening. You're saying, right? The people are saying there's increased workloads. It's just because of the demand is going higher. Very different from other kinds of technology shifts. There's no concern of somebody losing their job. In fact, it's the opposite. You'll only lose your job to another person who has your same background, except they know AI and they can use AI to accelerate their work. You're just losing your job to another human, not to AI, not to machines, and not to IT tech. I'll pause there and see if Satish has some comments.
I think you brought up very good points here. I see the disconnect in the data point that I see right now is that an employee can't keep up with productivity demand, and exec on the other hand expect more, right? So this disconnect is mostly because the shadow AI that you mentioned, and then them not knowing how proficient my employee base is to actually utilize Gen AI solution, and if from the management standpoint, if they have already rolled out either in production or even in the staging for them to use and just expect magic to happen, that doesn't happen, right? And that's where the training piece come in the picture. So unless they have formalized training of their employee base to really have the expected ROI, they should not expect more. Just rolling out GenAI solution does not solve the problem. So disconnect that can be solved by having a training in place in a more formal and methodical way.
Yeah, measurement is key. You
Yeah.
can't improve anything that you don't measure. So the challenge with AI is that you have not been taught that in a course in an undergrad or grad school, right? It's very, very new. So we have to do this training on the job while people are working. And eventually the university systems will catch up. But right now we have to compensate using some tools and measurements.
So, Binny, one of the things that we had talked earlier that, in corporate, like today, everybody knows that, individuals have to go through the security training, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and pretty soon we will see that Gen AI training should fall in that category because there are security concerns through Gen AI solutions as well if they're not control moderated, right? So like regular security training that employees go through, there should be Gen AI training in the corporate as well. And for one more reason, because the Gen AI itself is moving at such a fast pace, things are changing, new better things are coming, right? So even for that reason, this regular Gen AI training is very much needed at corporates.
Exactly, right. Eh, If you think about it, right, if you hire somebody and they say, I actually am not that familiar with using email, right? So that would be a disqualification, right? The expectation is, yeah, I mean, we don't even think about it that can somebody use it? Do we interview there? Those are the things. That's how Gen AI usage will be in 2 or 3 years. It will be like you have to use it. So um, right now, it's about making sure people use it in a safe way. That's paramount. And then we will go into how efficiently can you use it. Things are changing, so you have to keep up to date with that, right? This is the fastest changing field that has ever been there. Um, and making sure that you're not leveraging a technology that's 3 months old is highly important, because the delta between the quality of work that you'll do if you use 3 month old compared to your competition is extremely significant. Um, Now, the large companies have to figure out the stance between do I allow people to use technology that I've not had time to vet, or do I just make it slow? Now, there are different companies that are taking it differently. But one thing that is becoming a lot more clearer, especially because of how Microsoft has changed dynamics of even large companies, what has changed is large companies no longer think that they can move slow and be okay, because Microsoft has changed it. Um, you have to continue to move fast. Otherwise, the other large companies might just take over. So they have the money, the capital, and if they have the speed that is AI accelerated, then they'll be unstoppable. So yeah, the idea is to figure out how to measure. That's most important, and give a report to the employees, a self-assessment, so that they can improve, and then keep on updating a material, a course that they can revisit every 2 3 months. It's updated with the latest, the best practices. That in anyway in security we do once a year, but that doesn't change that frequently. With Gen AI, it should be, I think, once every 3 months right now, the way things are going.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great segue into what we have next, which is we look at all of these Gen AI providers in the market, and they're kind of bucketed into these groups where we have Gen 1, Gen 2, and then these Gen 3 providers that are really a complete sea change from what we've seen from Gen AI in the past, which is really why enterprises need upskilling for applicability in their organizations. The reason we're introducing this training is to truly give people access not just to LLMs and the tools and derivatives that come along with them, but to go beyond that, to empower them to use the capabilities in a way that's truly changing business process automation. With that, I'd love to talk about what excites you the most about this partnership and what it's different, how it's different from what we see in the market now.
Yeah. Satish, go ahead.
So some of the things that are relevant here is we are still keeping human at the center, right? I think the what you see on the slide right now, there's an open AI how Kognitos is repeatable. In both cases, human is at the center. The only thing that is changing here that are they trained? Are they equipped with the right kind of information to be able to use and get the ROI that they need? Now, from the world that I cater to for HR and TA, right, where we're trying to understand individual by providing data behind every candidate, every employee, to look at their, maybe skill composition, and really helping HR and TA make informed decision about who has the skill to do the job, who is the best fit for the job, looking at the skill gap and look at the skill potential, right? So these are the things that we're enabling on our side. And for this partnership where we're trying to bring in Gen AI certification in the picture as well to really accelerate it further. And this dimension of training on Gen AI is going to be a lot more rewarding for organization than any other kind of training because the pace at which it is moving.
Yeah. So if you see here, there are 3 generations. The first generation was tools, right? So going from having no IT to getting IT, and the IT has Microsoft introduced various tools. And for those, the training that you need is, do I know how to administer SAP? Do I know how to set up Office Exchange email server and stuff like that? That was Gen 1. Gen 2 was, okay, you have those tools. Now you need to connect those tools. So now you're looking at RPA-like solutions and training there. Like, do you know how to understand business process, and then translate that into various connections and various automations on top of these Gen 1 tools? Then comes Gen 3, which is beyond just getting trained on these uh, no code, low code, drag and drop tools, but rather using natural language and interacting with all the systems that you have in your business, but in a way where anybody could do it. So the first bucket was DBAs, administrators of various tools. The second bucket was RPA developers. The third bucket is actually everybody in the business. And that's the fundamental shift that is happening. Now, why it is everybody is because of one main distinction that is emerging. In this Gen 3, when you ask for something, well, you could ask for information, but you can also ask for action to happen. Whether you are onboarding a new employee, or whether you are paying somebody a bill or their invoice. When you ask for something, if there is some side exception that happens, which is unforeseen, at that time, these tools that are in the Gen 3 category are actually interacting not with the developer, but actually with the operator, somebody on the business side saying, hey, I was doing this, step number 3, I was looking for the email address from this database, and I don't find it. What do I do? And then the person on the business side would say, oh, let me see why this is not there. Oh, in this case, you can simply ignore. Oh, or the other approach could be, oh, it's not there. That is a really bad problem. Let me go and talk to the department, say what's going wrong, because this customer is very important for me. So it could be a spectrum. In Gen 2, that problem would be shown to a developer on the IT side, and they don't know which one is important for the business, which one is not. And that's why it was a lot more um, time consuming and very hard. Gen 3 is changing the game. But to enable that to happen, for anybody on the business to interact with the Gen 3 IT systems, when they need help, they need to understand these tools. And that's why you need to train almost everybody in the business to say, whenever you're doing either an ad hoc thing or something's doing a repeatable thing, you will be pulled in to help. So let me explain what ad hoc versus repeatable means. Say, supposing I want to book a flight ticket or book a hotel because I'm going to a conference. That is ad hoc. I don't do it every day 100 times, right? So there I'll use maybe OpenAI or some agentic tool, and interact with it. And there's a dialogue. And with the dialogue, it's proposing a plan. Finally, I say, I like it. And I say, go book it for me. And I do the booking. That's the direction where the world is going. That's great. It will work. The world of ad hoc is somebody needs to be trained on how to interact and with which tools, right? I put OpenAI as a label there, but in reality, it will be another tool layered on top of OpenAI for that particular vertical and that use case that you have in mind, right? So that the guardrails that enterprises need, the auditing of who is doing what, who is booking those tickets, all of that will be done. The other one is repeatable process. This is more like a factory setting. I know I do this hundreds of times a day, right? I send payments or I send shipments from my factory um, to 10,000 customers every month, and I have to follow the same process because process is what businesses want for predictability, for insight, and all of that. So anytime you find that there is a standard operating process that is documented and AI is following it, that becomes the repeatable Gen 3 tool. And now when in that documented process, the system needs help, again, it's interactive. It comes back, wants to have a conversation, but with whom? Again, with a person on the business side who needs to be trained on these kind of tools as well. So that's the goal of this joint collaboration, that we'll have a course on both these ad hoc and repeatable kind of use cases and how people should be using them.
I want to add a few points here. So as Binny pointed out, that now system is engaging with the business owners, not the developers, not the IT people. It is short circuited and made fast track to act and move forward, right? That's one thing that has changed with the Gen AI. And another point that Binny had made statement early in our conversation that we want to call out here is that uh, OpenAI is for intelligence, Kognitos is for precision. And that's important distinction because for a repeatable business process to always perform, it needs to have a predictable outcome. You can't go wrong there, right? And typically it does involve some math, some computation, which can't rely on any of your hallucination and every time get different answer. So that is where for business process automation, Kognitos play a lot more important role than just providing intelligence and summary that OpenAI does great.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing. This is a great segue. We've got a question from our audience here. I'm tasked to develop the HR AI strategy. Based on your experience, what framework could I consider to get started?
I think this is just the right question at the right time because, as you just saw, that there are ad hoc tasks, there are repeatable tasks, right? So if you take a step back and look from HR perspective, a lot of things are just repeatable tasks that need to be taken a very different approach than ad hoc things comes to you. And I'm going to talk some few things around that as well. Uh, if you look at the repeatable tasks, right, some of them, and they're low-hanging fruit in HR already that has been solved and people are using it. It requires some of them starting from TA operation. The lot of things can be automated about outreach at a scale, automated screening in the process, standardizing the interview process where system is guiding what to ask and making sure they are unbiased. A lot of things are automated in the TA process. Then comes on the onboarding side. It's mere document collection. It has been done better in previous generation through automation as well. But with Gen AI, it could be highly personalized. So all the onboarding process of employees repeatable task that is easy for AI to automate and scale up. And then look at internally in the organization, all these tracking of employee emotions, how is the feeling at the organization, collecting feedback through micro feedback sessions, everything AI can do. Today, HR team is really swamped on tactical tasks. Every day they get pulled in 10 different direction. And those things can be well automated through AI. Remember, AI has much larger view because of the data that can digest and understand better than an individual human being, right? If they're factual in nature. And half of the times people are asking about benefits or something that is mundane in nature. Those are easy thing to automate. So go for the low hanging fruit first to free up. And HR, I believe, should spend time with another human, catering to the need of the emotional things, right? Which are a lot more relevant, and it adds a lot more value to the organization as well. So there are so many low-hanging fruit to automate both pre-hiring, during hiring, and post-hiring to improve the company brand and employee satisfaction in there.
I see another related question from Scott talking about how are these tools monitored while delivering automation at scale, right? So yeah, let me take that up. Um, that is the most important question, actually, if you think about how you leverage AI. I'll give you an analogy and then come back to this question. So in the self-driving car world, there are two schools of thought. The Tesla school of thought, which is, yeah, it's a self-driving car, but there is a steering wheel. It's up to you whether you want the AI to drive it or you want to hold the steering wheel and drive, but you can see the steering wheel move. You know what it is doing. There's another school of thought, the Waymo or the GM Cruise school of thought, where there is no steering wheel. or even Tesla, the Robocop, cab thing, no steering wheel. That's another school of thought. What you have seen is whenever you give the human the control and let them make the decision, it's fine. The adoption is really fast, even if it's not 100% accurate, because the human can review it. Now, coming back to these questions, say I'm automating either HR process or finance process or whichever process. You need a tool where the tool takes your instructions and then translates it into a plan. A plan is detailed plan of what it is going to do, not in some weird language that only an IT person can understand. A plan in natural language, maybe it is very specific, and shows it to you. Now it is for you to accept it or modify it, ask for certain changes, right? For example, if it's an onboarding thing and an email is going to be sent out to the person who joined the company, now you would like to review what the email is going to be, maybe put in your own personal touch, right? And AI can never do that. AI can never be in your brain. So that is what is the most important. I call it the steering wheel of AI. So any place, any AI leader or business leader is putting in AI, they need to ask the question, do I have my steering wheel with this tool? Meaning, is it going to expose to me the actual mechanical details of what it is going to do? And if I don't like it, I change it, then it better do that. It cannot now go and have more hallucinations in the back. Like if I have a car with the steering wheel, if I turn right and it says, no, no, I thought it was a bad turn, I didn't turn. That is not a steering wheel. Steering wheel means I have full control. It will follow my instructions. But self-driving is also needed. So I can just put it on autopilot and I can watch it. So these tools, their detailed plan needs to be there. And more importantly, I call it the business journal, meaning when the detailed plan is executed, every step, the output, the reasoning has to be recorded for audit. So a month later, you come and say, what happened in that particular transaction? Why did we not go ahead? It's all detailed. And that becomes the story of the business. The you know, Normally these things are in tribal knowledge, they are lost when people leave the company. But if you automate using tools like the tools where you have the details recorded, I mean, Cognitos obviously does that. There must be others who do that. You get the benefit there.
We've got a follow-up question to that. If I'm understanding correctly, you're saying these are driven at scale and monitored with human in the loop.
Yeah, yeah. So it's almost like an assembly line in a factory, right? The machine is doing things at scale, but once in a while it'll have a question for a human, and it could be anything like I cannot do this, like, or it could be a problem in the machine itself, doesn't matter. So what these next generation Gen AI tools that do repeatable tasks have to offer as a fundamental need requirement is a place where a human can go and handle all these machine asks at scale with efficiency, right? And the human should be the same human who otherwise would have done it manually. That is the most important thing. Bringing in a new tool, an AI tool, should not force you to go hire new kind of skill set in a workforce. That is hard. People are not looking for that. Ideally, you should bring in a tool that takes your current employees and improves their productivity. So the way things work is, say there is a business process, somebody was doing it 100 times a day, in comes a repeatable task AI automation tool. Now, instead of doing 100 times, they do only 20. Why? Because the 80 have been automated. The 20 is where the automation required some help because either the automation logic was not fully fleshed out, or something genuinely is wrong, or the input is somebody, instead of sending the invoice, sent a picture of the dog by mistake, right? All sorts of things happen. Now, instead of having somebody update the automation all the time to for any time something new happens, you just give it to the person who does it manually. So instead of doing 100, they do 20. That's a 5x productivity increase. with very little effort on doing the automation. So yes, human in the loop at scale by using the same people who used to do it at scale. There's no additional burden on IT. That is the way to solve this problem.
So, Benny, in this case, right, you said two philosophy, one is steering wheel, being shown what is happening, another one just don't have steering at all. Is it just the question of maturity and confidence in the system that people need to feel comfortable seeing that it is doing what it's supposed to do visually? Or is it that, that it's just they can't comprehend autonomous drive and feeling the safe in the car.
But it's very, very situational, right? So you give the same tool to different people. They have different levels of comfort, and the same person gains different level of comfort over time with the same tool and the same process. So this is what we have seen normally happen. um, you go in with AI bringing automation, and you have this proverbial steering wheel, meaning the detailed plan of what it's going to execute. The first month, 2 months, 3 months, the business process owner says, you know what, I want to review everything going through it, right? Which is fine. So they are saying, show me the driving directions, the plan, but I'm going to approve every time you're going. So now they look at it, and if they see that what they're reviewing is mostly correct, then say, you know what, I only want to do spot check now. 10% of the time I'll do the spot check, right? Because I have other things to do. And then they do the spot check, and then they say, you know what, now maybe just 1 in 100, or just do it automatically all the time, put it in autopilot. I'm going to just once in a while go and check now. Now, once they find, hey, there's one uh, transaction where it did something wrong. It should not have been there because somebody complained to me. Now they go back and say, you know what? No, no, no. I want to review now, but this time, tell me how you're going to fix this problem, because that already happened. That is where the detailed plan becomes so much important. Because if you're talking about an AI solution, there is no bug fix with AI. You can only fix bugs in logic, not in just guesswork AI system. That's why the automation of repeatable tasks has to be described in logical details. So in that detail, you can add another clause saying that, okay, if this is the case, then don't do it this way. The systems that are there, Kognitos included, do have the capability of being taught. In certain situations, you got to do it this way. And then the system should prove to the business user that this particular error will never happen because now we have done it, and then continue. So that's typically how like all software is done. You get to a point where you trust it, and then there is a bug, you come back and address it, right? But with AI, we also can allow gradual transition to trust.
So that is why I guess that with all the exception handling and audit trail being available over time, system starts covering a lot more scenario automatically and learn from that. But
Yeah.
that is why then this whole training piece that we are talking right now is
Yeah.
important. The people need to understand how to react to those exceptions, what to look in the audit trail to guide the system to act certain way to move forward.
Yeah, so it's a lot about the training is not just leveraging AI, but almost like people in a factory floor. What do? They are doing visuals, quality check as things are going in. Now you have to train people, like, what do you look for? Like AI normally makes these kind of mistakes. So you train them to look for those mistakes, right? Normally people would think that AI should do math properly, right? And stuff like that. But if you just go into ChatGPT and all of that, ask it to do math, it'll get it wrong. And you'll be thinking my calculator can do a better job than this, super intelligent system. And that's why you need platforms where those kind of problems don't happen, but also train people what to look for. That's heavily important. So um, these things are not hard to tell people. We just a few examples, humans learn with just one or two examples.
Yep. Yep.
Are there KPIs that you'd recommend in order to measure AI adoption or AI fluency in organizations? And how do you make sure that all of the involved cross-functional teams are appropriately trained?
Then talk about the KPI, Vinny.
Yeah. So in terms of how when we are talking to customers and how they will be moving this out, first question is, how many people in your organization are intimately aware of the business process, right? And mostly, those are the people who are the target of any kind of these training. Now, most people are given a task and they're given a standard operating process. Right? Like, this is what you will follow, right? So get those people. Then the question is, how many of those people are actually entrusted with changing the process, not just following the process? Now, changing the process is a few people who work with the leadership, and leadership comes and says, next quarter, I got to do this. And then they're saying, okay, I'm going to write some changes in the operating procedure, and then I'll send a memo to everybody explaining them why we are doing this change and what is expected, right? So these are the two classes of people out there: the people who understand process and do it either manually or with the help of an AI tool, and the people who are the authors of the process. So the KPIs are of both these types. The authors of the process need to have a certification where they can prove that they can write new processes. They can update them when somebody reports that there is AI is behaving in a different way and that needs to be fixed. So that certification is different. It's more of an advanced certification. And then there's a common baseline certification for everybody, which is you're not authoring the automation, but when you see the automation running, can you spot check quality? And can you help? If the machine cannot do it, you take over. Say it was a 10-step process. You know how to do all those 10 steps. Machine did 5. Can you take over from 6 onwards? That's all. So they need to be able to interact with the AI tool, look at all the values in the 5 steps, and then take over. Or they could say, and then this is where they get more sophisticated. They'll say, you are stuck in step 6. I'm going to help you. Here is the NDA that you wanted. Now you continue, and I'm observing you. Step 7, step 8, let the machine do that. So this interplay between human and machine is what they need to be trained on. So you measure, and that's why Glider is a great platform where actually those things are measured. The KPI for just seeing how many people went through the course, that's not good enough. We need to actually know that they are proficient at doing the job and show that, for the tasks, they've been able to achieve that.
Yeah, and one of the core part of making sure that that people are indeed trained is really, to practice-based, hands-on, real-world example, and they also need to be aligned to the job function which they are doing. So it could be, in finance, they need to be really practicing on the finance use cases, where and how Gen AI product could be used. Similarly, for HR, sales, marketing, so all the use cases need to have hands-on task to be able to be familiar with the Gen AI tools.
Yeah. Like, for example, you mentioned Excel, Satish. So a lot of the companies out there, they have to reconcile 2 Excel sheets or merge them from different departments into one format. It's a very simple task to explain to a human. That could be a task where we say, use a Gen AI product to be able to take these 2 Excel sheets, merge them into one, and then send an email to your boss. Now, let's see, can you do it in 5 minutes? And create a repeatable task. So now you can share this with your colleagues. So they don't have to now come up with the idea. They can just use it. And that's how you create a groundswell of innovation around AI. And certain people in your organization will be the authors of these things, and everybody will be the consumers.
So we've got 2 more questions from our audience here. So a follow-up from Scott to the last question. So while I understand training for learning to work with or work alongside AI, how are the training tools upskilling in domain expertise to make sure the system starts off with a college or similar level knowledge of a domain?
So if I get the question right, it's talking about the system starting at a college or similar level, not human part. It could be interpreted in both way, but if you're really looking at the from the system perspective, then as Binny said, that need to understand the business process at deeper level, who are the domain expert, and they can really see that what is happening today and how can an autonomous solution can really automate it to bring the scale. And if the question interpretation is around as a human, uh, that are they starting at the college or similar level of domain, in that case, it truly need to be trained through hands-on tasks. Just watching video will not cut it. The good part here is that you don't need a computer science degree. You need to have critical thinking, and maybe you need to think like a psychologist as well. How do I ask question to the system like I would ask another human being, providing the complete context so they can get the right answer, right? So really, uh, uh, going through those hands-on exercise and iterating in the process and learning how to instruct the system will get you started at the college or same level of domain expertise.
All right, our next question that we have is the workflow to get rid of AI malfunctions that you talked about solved using chain of thought prompting?
Yeah. Um, it is solved using normal deterministic computation, not chain of thought prompting. Basically, biases and hallucinations in AI, LLMs, you cannot necessarily solve them using an LLM itself, right? I mean, that's the best effort. You can definitely do that. But fundamentally, at least at Cognitos, what we have built is a neurosymbolic engine where you have an LLM layer, but you also have a symbolic layer. Symbolic layer meaning something like as dependable as Python, Java, or C++, and all of those. Those symbolic, the foundational layer is what protects you. So logic is the antidote of hallucination. So if you have an LLM step, an AI step that could potentially have a bias or hallucination, you wrap it in a logical validation step that will not hallucinate, because by definition it cannot hallucinate. So in the cognitor's case, we have a cognitor's brain that can run things symbolically, just like you run any software, and that will make sure that whatever the business rule is, this must be a 9-digit social security number, or this must be a date within this quarter. So if you can express what you want to be enforced, then that is always enforced. That's one option. The other option is in a system that records a business journal, and it knows the past 10, 20 interactions of what has happened. That system is able to look at something and say, hey, this is looking weird. It was always a number, but that started with D and N, and now it is a number that is starting with hello. So something is wrong about this. And it's able to bring that up, pull in the business user and saying, you are the subject matter expert here. Is this something wrong, or this is something that your business has now allowed to happen? And if yes, learn from that interaction and continue. So that is the real method. It's the chain of thought thing is something that is used in generation of these plans, but not necessarily in the execution of these plans. We want the thought process to be documented. The chain of thought LLM isn't documented, so it's not that friendly to large enterprise safety.
All right, we have about 1 more minute left, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull these slides back up so everybody knows how they can get started with this course. And I think maybe we end with a kind of a fun question, which is, what is your favorite prompt, or what's your favorite underutilized use for AI?
Go for it, Binny.
My favorite prompt. Um, See, we don't. We're trying to limit how much we depend on prompting with AI. AI has to become a lot more structured and dependable and all of that, right? So the less you prompt and depend on prompting, and create a, you know, uh, wrapper around it, the better. But just as a fun thing, there's an employee who joined our company, and he said in the previous company, they found one prompt that worked. It was it was a death threat to OpenAI. Like, if you do not do this properly, this calculation properly, you'll be dead. And surprisingly, they got better answers.
Um, so for me, I don't know, it's fun but very useful prompt that I used recently. Now that the holiday season is coming, and I was uh, supposed to distribute some sweets to 10 different houses in my local community, and I used ChatGPT to give me the optimal route uh, to go to places, and that was awesome. Otherwise, I'm just going back and forth just multiple times. It saved maybe 1 hour of my time, honestly, in this. So Gen AI can really help you in practical life also.
That's amazing. I want to thank everyone for being here today. We will follow up with a recording. Thanks for your participation, and thank you, Satish and Binny, for such an engaging conversation today.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
your time.
Yep.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.